There's Just Something About Kansas City is brought to you in part by the generosity of our friends at the Cockrell Family Foundation, the Bergman family, and the Sherman Family Foundation. Thank you.
Welcome once again to another episode of There's Just Something About Kansas City. I'm your host, Frank Bohl. Sitting across from me, the busiest lady in Kansas City and will be until August of 2026, I think, once the World Cup vacates town. Pam Kramer, the CEO for Kansas City 2026 in the World Cup. Welcome.
Thank you.
And listen, I always thank people for taking time out. I'm really thanking you for taking time out because I know what your schedule has to be insane right about now.
Well, I appreciate all that you're doing to highlight all the good things that happen here. So happy to take time to talk about my favorite subject, Kansas City.
Yeah, and you are you're 500 days out.
500.
Okay,
yep.
Something right in that area. Everybody will think, well, gee, that's like a year. What's the big panic? Oh gosh, everything you have to do is going to take up every minute of every day between now and the World Cup here in KC.
Yeah, it's a massive undertaking, right? It's the biggest thing that will ever happen in our region. And it's going to take certainly more than me, more than our team. It's going to take everyone locking arms and pulling together,
Right.
Confident that we're going to get it done. Great work's already happening and has been happening for several years. But now we're really getting into the details of how it's all going to work and how things are coming together and how we're going to move people around and keep people safe and make sure people see all the great things we have to offer here.
Yeah, and you were sort of thrust into this situation, interested to know. I think you were a fractional CEO, I think, with the World Cup. And then Catherine Holland stepped down, and that was in June of 2024. And that had, when that happened, I mean, it was that really put a crimp in the situation for you because you had to then step in and pick up right away. It was a good thing you were already connected, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the great things about Kansas City is that such good work had already been done, and there were so many people willing to help and to provide continuity and to keep the train moving, if you will. And so there were certainly some adjustments to make, but I think we've really stepped up and we're well on our way.
Yeah, this is one of the good things about KC. One of the many, many good things about KC is how everybody does sort of step in and realize it's not me as an individual or our company individually. It is a region that in recent years has just skyrocketed on not just the national landscape, but it has skyrocketed on the international landscape. You know, Chiefs visiting Germany to go play football. And maybe we can get the German soccer team here. That's just a hint from me. But the whole thing is that the Chiefs with the Super Bowl, the many Super Bowls, and then the Kansas City Royals, 15, they win the World Series. Just everything that has happened, the way we put on the party, we had the NFL draft here. Just everything is really culminating in what will happen in 2026, right? I mean, we're still on the rise.
That's right. You hit the nail on the head. This is really about capitalizing on the momentum. Great things have been happening here. When you think about the streetcar, the new airport terminal, all the success that our teams have had, how do we capitalize on that momentum and show the world what we already know, that this is a pretty extraordinary place? And it really is about regionality. I think that's that was the strength of our bid. I think there were some cities who maybe were not selected, who were like, "What? Kansas City?
Yeah,
how did
right.
they get the World Cup when we didn't?" And it really was this unified approach that people put aside the state line and their own interests and said, "We are going to do what's right to bring this to Kansas City because it's a generational opportunity." And my hope is that 10 years from now, people look back and point to this moment and say, "Boy, that was something that really accelerated our trajectory." I've heard people say, if we could just get people here, they would see what we already know. That, not to put too fine of a point on it with the name of your podcast, but there really is something about Kansas City. And so not only preparing for the logistics of it, the transportation and all of those elements which are important, but also preparing to show that special sauce to really welcome people in the Kansas City way.
We're not just talking about barbecue
That's
sauce.
right,
Okay?
although that's part of it.
Yeah.
I want people, when they get off the plane or they arrive at Union Station or they drive to their hotel, to really feel a difference here and to know why we think we're going to be the heart of the World Cup. That's really important.
Yeah, we talked to Heidi Gardner, and I think she summed it up best. She said, when she asked her friends from Saturday Night Live to come in for Big Slick and do all this stuff, they're sort of, well, Kansas City, they're sort of reluctant at first. And then once they get here, they get in here, and I think one of her friends from Saturday Night Live came in one time. She asked Heidi, "Can I come back next year?" And Heidi said, "Oh, did you really like them?" She goes, "When I got off the airplane and I got into the city, I felt like I just got a great big collective hug from all the people in Kansas City." And I think that really sums up what this area is all about.
I do too. This is a relationship-based place, right? A relationship-based economy. If you don't understand the value of treating people the right way, you're not going to do well here. And I think what that leads to is businesses and business leaders and civic leaders and electeds who really care about people. And it's reflected in all that we do, in the way that we roll out the red carpet, in the way that we treat visitors, in the way we treat each other. It's one of the reasons I love this place so much, and one of the things I want to share with people.
Yeah, and the other thing is, we talk about the state line in some areas, there's a state line between our two states, and there's still a lot of back and forth there. But in a situation like this is when both sides of the state line come together, because they realize it is regional. So how far out do your tentacles reach in this region right here with just your planning and everything that you're doing for the World Cup?
We're really fortunate. We have public support from both states, from the state of Kansas and the state of Missouri. So we want kids in Dodge City, which is where my husband grew up, right?
Know, yeah.
And Jefferson
Kevin.
City, where I grew up, but also in Joplin, Missouri, and Great Bend. We want people in those communities to feel connected to this effort and to understand that we're representing them on the world stage. And so we want to tell the stories. International visitors are really interested in things like Western.
They love the West,
right? And
they love cowboys.
So making sure when people come here, they know that you can go to Dodge and go to Dodge City Days, and you can go to the Route 66 100th anniversary in 2026,
right.
And take advantage of that. But telling the story, so I think it is a broad regional approach in that sense, and then zooming in a little on the actual venues. The base camps, obviously the matches at Arrowhead, the FIFA Fan Festival. It's a little a narrower focus. So there are two parts to it, right? One is this regional engagement, and the other is the actual events that will take place.
You got the Current,
Yep.
okay, with that incredible facility, not just their facility, but also their training facility.
Right.
You have Compass Minerals, which is sporting's area, and then you have Rock Chalk Park in Lawrence, too. So you're spreading people out as far as the teams are concerned, where they can go and practice and work out, and have their medical facilities as well.
And I think the quality of those facilities really sets us apart. When FIFA issued the first catalog of their potential team base camps in June, there were 24. 3 of those were in Kansas City. So we're the smallest host city. To have three of the potential base camps in that first catalog, they've since expanded it. But it speaks not only to the quality of the facility, but also the cooperation of those facility owners. They have to agree to FIFA's rental fees. They have to agree to all of FIFA's stipulations and maintain the facilities. We have great partners in all 3 of those places. So there are venue-specific training facilities where the teams that come here will train the day before the match. So that will be Children's Mercy Park and CPKC Stadium. And then there are the base camps, the Rock Chalk Park, the current facility, and Compass Minerals.
Where they can work out, and they can have their no hint yet, I don't think. You probably know, but you're probably, under double secret probation to give this information up. But you probably don't know who the team will be who will have their base camp here in Kansas City.
We won't know until...
You can tell me if you want.
just you. We won't know until December of
Right.
2025 this year. When the final draw happens, that will happen probably the first or second week in December, we'll find out where teams are playing in the group stage. And the best American reference I can give for that is Selection Sunday. So that's sort of
Yes.
when we find out, who's playing in our group stage matches. And very shortly thereafter, the teams will submit their preferences for base camp to FIFA. So they want to find out where they're playing in that first phase.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Because, they want to be able to travel to and from base camp to their matches. But when you look at a map and you look at where we are, I love our position. We're a 3-hour flight to anywhere. And when you combine that with the quality, as I said, of our facilities, I really like our chances for having some high-profile teams here.
Yeah, you don't want to be a team that's on the East Coast and has to fly the West Coast
Right.
to
Right.
play a game. That would be a pain. Yeah, Kansas City is perfectly situated, and of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this, but Lonely Planet travel magazine, just rated Kansas City. If you're coming to the World Cup, and now we're talking Lonely Planet is all over the world, They're magazines in every language imaginable. And they're telling everybody, if you're going to go to the World Cup, one of the destinations you've got to go to is Kansas City. It's central to everything in the country. I mean, you just go, wow.
I know. And I think it's extraordinary when people come here, this is the surprise and delight factor, right? They're like, I had no idea that this place had so much to offer. And it's gratifying to see.
There's more than barbecue?
Right? And just the music scene and, the international fan will stay an average of 9 days. So between matches, they're going to be looking for things to do. And I'm so excited. We have so much to offer, and that publications like Lonely Planet are taking note of that and encouraging people to come here because, again, it's a pretty terrific place.
Yeah, it is. And I think people will explore it, too. Before they come here, World War I museum's there? I didn't realize that. And these people come from Europe.
Right.
And they are very steeped in history, And, or all over, even South America or wherever they're going to be coming from. Asia, wherever, but they're very steeped in history. And World War I, you mean the number one World War I museum in the world. You have the mob, with Union Station, and you have all those stories about everything that happened in Kansas City concerning the mafia and all these things these people hear about, all these crazy things that happened. And then we have all the breweries and the wineries and the barbecue and, 18th and Vine.
Right. Symphony in the
Neighbor
Flint
Lakes
Hills.
Baseball.
Right. All of it.
Symphony in the Flint Hills. I
Right.
was just talking about that as well. Yeah.
One of the coolest things as we've been thinking about how we're communicating to people, most people globally, if they know Kansas City, probably know us because of sports. Right. They know the Chiefs. They've certainly seen that. They know the Royals, Sporting, the Current. So how do we capitalize on that? And really, it's broader than that. We are so rooted in sports here. The rules of basketball were invented here. The Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, the founding fathers of the NFL, Lamar Hunt's legacy, MLS. We're the only, I believe, the only city in the world that has a purpose-built stadium for both a men's and women's soccer team.
We are.
Right? Sports is part of our fabric. And so it's that plus this celebration idea. We come together like no other place in the world to celebrate sports. And one of the things that I saw in '94 with the World Cup, the joy of soccer fans, it's hard not to get caught up in that. And I can't wait to see that combined with our Kansas City magic.
And how, just everything serendipity has all of this been. You're working with Sprint back in 1994, and you're helping them in the 1994 World Cup. And you actually went to the World Cup. It was in the United States at that time. And you basically saw every United States men's national team game.
I did.
During that 1994. So that really gave you a base of what was happening. And then you interface with a lot of people who were involved with FIFA in the World Cup. And so I think that really helped as well.
It did in a lot of ways. I mean, first of all, soccer was still new in the United States in 1994. And really the legacy of that World Cup is the growth of soccer in the United States. The MLS came out of that, and a whole generation of people grew up playing soccer. I didn't grow up playing soccer, but seeing it and understanding the passion of the fans and how really big it was and how small it made the world, because it was such a connective thing for people. But beyond that, understanding the power of sport to bring people together and understanding that that people want to be unified and they want to rally around something good and fun. And so that, to me, informed my career choices because I realized I really did want to be a part of big things that people cared about.
Yeah.
And in addition, I think seeing the actual matches, and I went to all 9 host cities, saw every U.S. match. It was extraordinary, and so much has changed with communication and travel, and this will be even bigger. This is the biggest version of the World Cup, so I can't wait to see.
Yeah, you still have people, too, you can reach back out to and say, hey, you still involved? If not, who is?
Right.
And I've got this question for here in Kansas City, and you were a host city. How can I try to figure this thing out? Can you help me out?
Absolutely. And some of my former Sprint colleagues, calling them and saying, like, how do you remember how we did this? What was the media center like? What was the setup? You know, did journalists travel from city to city? Did they set up shop in one city? How's that going to work? And just, I'm still connected to all of those people. Many people, I think, have a little Camelot moment in their career where they look back and they think, boy, that was something
that
special.
Worked. Yeah, that really that got me here where I am today.
Right, and that was the moment for me. I mean, those people, again, back to the relationships, just really a special time.
Right, and you talked about reaching out regionally, and I know at one time it said you have 1,000 businesses on board, and I think you're very, very happy with the diversity of those businesses as well. You probably have more than 1,000 now. This was from about 6 months ago.
Yep.
So I'm sure there's more and more people as it gets closer and closer.
We're working with the small business office from the city, both state economic development offices, to make sure that we're providing tools and resources so businesses understand who's coming, how to prepare. You know, the language question I get asked a lot. Should we be learning another language?
Putting menus.
Right.
But you're not going to be able to do that until you find out maybe who your base team is here, right?
Right. And so what we would tell people is focus on Spanish and Portuguese. Most European countries require English in schools. And so most Europeans will speak English. You know, I think we have a lot of native Spanish speakers here in the metro. So we should tap into that. I'm actually relearning Spanish. I took Spanish in high school and tested out of it in college. So it's been a few years since I have spoken, but I'm on Duolingo and listening in my car every day. I am. That's one of my personal goals is
gosh, that's great.
To relearn it before
I took Latin, so I can't help you.
There are a lot of similarities.
Oh, don't start. Okay, I don't want to. Oh my gosh, I'm going to start to break out a sweat from my Latin classes.
I could make a joke about age, but I won't.
Yeah, well, you know,
we're close. We're close in age.
Oh, I don't think so. I think I got to school just a little bit before you did. So people who still want to be involved, business want to be involved, just go to your website.
And we have a YouTube channel with just an overview video. Here's what to expect. Here's the number of people that are coming. Here's when the matches are, basic information. And we'll start to communicate more and more as the days get shorter. Yeah,
it's great. And like I said, and you sort of skimmed over it, and I know you not on purpose, but because I got you off to Spanish. You have over half of your businesses on board now are women or minority owned.
Yeah.
Which has to make you feel good because there's always a question about diversity. And
sure.
Who are we giving these contracts to and who this is happening to. So I think that was very important for you to make sure that
Absolutely.
happened.
I mean, we want to reflect the community we're representing.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure everybody understands the opportunities. Now, there are some things. The FIFA Fan Festival, you know, do we need a bridal shop for that? Probably not. But if you have, if you are, right, you never know.
You know, you might need a bridal.
That's what I said.
Like if some people get married
Maybe
up
we'll
there
do one
on
mass
the World
wedding,
War I
right?
museum up there. Yeah,
I mean, I think if somebody wants to organize that, they should do it. But I think just understanding when people are going to be here and, how we'll have an app. And so how do we make sure that we're sending people to local businesses when they're looking for things to do and places to eat and ways to explore.
How long will people be in Kansas City for that period of time? Are you expecting people to come? Expecting people to come early so they can get to see some of this stuff and then stay for the entire World Cup, or just come in and watch their team's games?
Yeah, I think the base camp contingents will arrive probably 2 weeks before the World Cup starts. They want to acclimate to time and weather and all of the things. And some fans will certainly come a week or so early. And then that group stage, they'll be here, and then the deck gets shuffled and people will be playing in different places. So that people will leave and then come back. The span of the tournament's probably 40 days. Mm-hmm. We have of the 16 host cities, we have the 6th highest number of days between our first match and our last match.
Wow.
So we have 26 days between the first match in Kansas City and the last match. And when you think about the tournament starting earlier, our first match is on June 16th. The tournament starts June 11th. I expect that we'll have people here for a month. And 650,000 people over the course of that time. So that's a lot of people in a city whose, the official population of Kansas City, Missouri is 509,000. They won't all be here at once, but we're gonna feel it. We're gonna know people are here and visiting. We want people here to stay here, and we want locals to engage with the World Cup too. And we're gonna need volunteers thousands of volunteers.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So look for that coming probably third quarter of this year, a volunteer portal. People who do speak languages, people who have skills, or people who just want to help our effort.
How about people just smile? And
That's
then we'll just
that
go
is
from there. Okay,
absolutely
we'll take that
part of
one
it,
first,
right?
Okay,
Be
we'll
at
give
the
them a big
airport.
hug
That's
first,
right.
and then,
Be the Kansas City
you know,
hug. That's right.
We'll get you from spot to spot. And part of this, and the two things that always come up about this: security, transportation. Kansas City is one of the first cities, I think the first city that's involved in the World Cup that went out and got all of their buses.
Yep.
Because we're going to need a lot of buses. So I'm curious to know, you went out first to get them. Where are all these buses coming from? What other cities are helping Kansas City? You know, there will be a reciprocal sometime down. Hey, we got a big event coming here. It could be a Super Bowl somewhere else, or maybe we'll even get our own Super Bowl someday. But somewhere else that has a Super Bowl that might need buses, they might, hey, we gave you all our buses. Time for you to give some back.
It's quite a process, and our transportation partner was part of the team for the 2022 World Cup, so has a ton of experience in this. Some of it's privately sourced, motor coach companies, and they will come from across the region. Many of them, we want to start locally, so if there are companies here who are providing that, some of them will provide those. But using those buses, not just to get people to FanFest, to Arrowhead for matches, but also to show people how regional transportation can work.
Yeah.
We think can be a great legacy of the tournament. So if you take the K10 connector to Lawrence for some sort of base camp activity, and you have a great experience and it's safe and reliable and you enjoy it, then maybe you're more likely to take that next year when you're going to a football game or a basketball game at KU. Instead of driving. And so, if you can get from the airport to Johnson County through bus rapid transit or to downtown in 20 minutes, I think a lot of people would be interested in that. And if we can demonstrate that using all of the extra buses that we have, we think there's real value in that.
Yeah, right. And since Light Rail didn't make it to the airport on this round, that was one of their goals. It just didn't happen monetarily. Takes a lot, okay, because you got to get a lot of federal funding for that. Didn't have, but the bus situation for people who could park somewhere near their home, wherever it may be, southern Johnson County, western Wyandotte County, wherever, and have a area where I can park my car here, it's safe, and then I can jump the bus and ride it to the airport, and I don't have to worry about it from that point on. So,
absolutely. And we'll model that not only airport, but Arrowhead's going to look really different than it does. This is not 6 Chiefs games. This is a completely different setup. Right. A lot of the parking spaces will be taken by the media overlay, the hospitality.
The trucks that they have to bring in for the broadcast. Worldwide, I mean, every broadcast entity in the world will be here to broadcast those soccer games.
Yes. I mean, there's a
whether their team's in or not, doesn't matter.
That's right. There'll be a build-out, a media tribune build-out beyond the press box at Arrowhead. So it is, we'll need people to ride, some people to ride buses to Arrowhead too and not park. So we'll do some test events this year so people start to understand how that operates. But again, I think, I have adult children who often Uber or rideshare everywhere they go. I think they would take a bus to Arrowhead if it would, they're all about saving their pennies. So they would certainly, I think if we could provide that, do that.
Yeah, I think so too. And then eventually, once it leaves, if they've had a great experience, they can then use that again.
That's right.
Because I think we are a region, we're in love with our cars here for some reason. Okay, if there are other places like New York, you really can't have a car now.
Right.
They charge you every day to come in downtown now. Los Angeles, just a mess. Dallas, all those places, just a mess with traffic. Just to know, what? This might be better for my mental state to be able to go to and from on bus and stuff, to and from in a car.
That's right. I mean, I think about, taking the bus from Johnson County now to downtown for work and how much you can get done on the bus. If you
Spanish language lessons.
That's right. That's right. Put that on the list too. So I think there's a real opportunity there.
Yeah, right. I think that's terrific. Yeah. So you will pull these buses out of all kinds of different cities, like maybe Omaha, Minneapolis, Dallas, wherever. But being on top of it first, that really had to help you out. Everybody else has got to be scrambling around to try to find transportation.
And we're going to be competing with all the other host cities for that, right?
Yeah, right.
Because it's buses, it's drivers. It is all of it. And so being first puts us at a significant advantage from a cost standpoint, from a really setting the market standpoint. So kudos to our transportation team for that.
Right. So we'll check that one off. That's fine. We got all the transportation need. We're good.
Solved.
Okay, that one's done. Click.
Yeah.
We're done with that one. But again, also, just to stay on this just for one more second, is the fact that you talked about Kansas City has 530,000 people here. We're going to have 650,000 visitors just to get people to and from work. Because a lot of people are going to have to work during this situation too. They won't all be able to go out and enjoy the World Cup, except maybe on the matches on weekends. But this situation where people have to get to and from their jobs.
That's
too,
right.
Which is really important. Will you work with companies and ask them, can you remotely work a lot of your employees at this point?
I think it
during this period of
depends. I
time?
think, speaking of transportation, we really do want to facilitate life as it happens in Kansas City. So we want people to be able to do things as they normally would do. I think it might be easier for some people to work remotely. We will also ask companies to let their employees volunteer. So, how we get volunteers to and from places will be important. But I think the preparation of it, we want life to continue, but to be amplified. And so I think COVID taught us all how to work remotely, but we also want our visitors to experience our city as it is normally, thriving and active. And so we don't want it to feel empty.
Right.
We want people to understand this is a great place to locate business. That's part of the story too.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have more.
Think about that.
More heads of state, more Fortune 100, 200 C-suite people than ever before. So telling the story of the talent, the workforce here, demonstrating the incentives that we have from both states on locating business here, that's a really important component that we're working on with KC80C.
Yeah, right. And, with Panasonic building the plant in DeSoto and getting that up and running and the whole thing is, I think everybody in the world takes notice. That's a Japanese company. It's been around for over 100 years. Well, they're in DeSoto. Where's DeSoto, Kansas?
Right.
And just why'd they go there?
Yeah.
So they start, businessmen are businessmen. Traveling with the World Cup or not, they're businessmen. And they're going to take a look and just take a look around and see what we have to offer.
Well, and as we've talked to certainly both state governments, the Governor-elect Kehoe, the Lieutenant Governor on the Kansas side, and our federal delegation, we send people on foreign trade missions to go to these other countries and try to convince people to locate business here. We're going to have all of them here. Let's have our own foreign trade mission while they're here. So we're doing a lot of planning around that. Yeah. And again, that's the cool thing about this place is that the state line disappears. We all have the same goal, which is let's put our best foot forward and collaborate and make sure that we're telling the story of all that we have to offer.
Yeah, we're really a proud area of the country, that's for sure. And I'm not from here originally, and you, Jefferson City, you're close.
Yeah.
And your husband was from Dodge City, which is out the other end, so it means a lot to us as well. The other thing everybody's concerned about is security.
Yep.
I think that is a big deal. The world we live in today, things have happened in the past. Where are we as far as security is concerned? And, I think Jason Sims, has taken over the...
Jason's our transportation director.
Oh, he's your transportation director. I'm sorry. I
Kyle
apologize.
Postel is our new...
That's right.
Yep,
Exactly. Yeah.
Our new director of safety and security. Planning has been happening for more than a year on safety and security. We have to learn from every event that happens.
Yes.
The COPA experience last summer, informing the planning, making sure that we're accounting for what we can account for, that we're coordinating state, local, federal, and with FIFA is the most important thing that we'll do. So Kyle comes to us from the U.S. Secret Service, worked on the United Nations General Assembly effort and a lot of the presidential, vice presidential detail work. So has really strong experience and understands all of the planning that has to happen, the integration. There are 125 people that meet regularly representing jurisdictions and agencies. On those planning efforts, 18 working groups, different areas like fire EMS and airport security, and just making sure that we're at every level thinking about all of and that we have enough law enforcement, mutual aid resource here to handle what's coming.
Yeah, we're going to put together all of our counties and districts and police departments and sheriff's departments, everybody else here.
Yep.
How much federal help will you need to make sure it is secure?
Yeah, the federal help is essential. We have a funding request in right now with the other 10 U.S. host cities for support, both in terms of financial support and resource. It's essential. I mean, this is a national event. It is not 11 cities. This is the United States as one of the 3 host nations. And so our delegation has been very supportive. And again, regardless of party line or state line, they have said, what can we do to help? We'll advocate for you. So we've been very pleased with that. I think that I am unique compared to other host cities sometimes in that everyone here cares about this. And I don't have any trouble picking up the phone and calling, the most important people in the region and asking for help. And the answer is always yes.
Yeah, right. No, that's extremely important because people want to feel safe when they're there. We have 6 matches, 1 quarterfinal match, which is a huge match. Okay,
I mean, massive.
That's a massive match to have, and we'll bring even more people in at that point when they're. Now, as far as housing is concerned, are we okay? We good?
We're good. We had to, in the bid, demonstrate that we had 55,000 hotel rooms in a 2.5-hour radius of Kansas City.
Okay, so it could be as far, almost as far north as Des Moines. Not quite that far, but
yeah. When you think about like Jeff City,
yes,
we have a little map that shows
Columbia,
it, right?
Yeah.
And we want people to go to those places. You know this from going to Super Bowls and other big events. People are willing to stay
wherever,
and drive in. And a lot of people won't have a ticket. They're just coming to be close to the excitement. When I think about the Chiefs Super Bowl, we went to Miami in 2019, 20, whatever year that was. There were so many Kansas Cityans there who did not have a ticket, who just wanted to be close to it, right? And that is that experience is magnified 10 times by the World Cup. People will come here just to be adjacent, and most of them will never go to a match at Arrowhead. They'll go to Fan Fest, they'll go to watch parties around town, and they'll experience everything that's going on.
And they'll go to the watch parties that have their teams in.
That's right.
So that's the important thing.
Right.
Everybody will be unified at that point, no matter what language they speak.
That's right.
Okay, they'll all be unified at that point. So let's talk a little bit about Pam Kramer. Okay, Jefferson City.
Yep.
All right, Elias High School.
Elias High.
All right.
Yep.
So what was it like, Jeff City?
Oh my gosh. I love Jeff City. I loved growing up there. I'm the 4th out of 5 kids. So
you're the one I didn't pay attention to.
That's right. That's right. I was just under the radar, trying to
perfect place to be.
Just get away with all of it. But I'm still super connected there. I have lots of family there still. It was a great place to grow up because it was very sports centric, and I think that planted the seed of like, boy, people come together around sports, and there's something on a much smaller scale, of course. But the football games were the big event in town.
Sure, Friday night.
Right. And fun fact, when I was growing up, Elias we didn't have our own stadium, so we played at the public school stadium. So we sometimes played on Saturday night, which meant you could have a doubleheader. You could go to the public school game on Friday night and the Elias game on Saturday night and have a whole weekend of activity. But it was a community and still is a community that people really support each other. And in fact, when I took this role, there were lots of people who reached out from Jeff City to say it's so cool to see somebody from
I saw
here.
Elias had a little thing. Our alum.
Right.
We're so proud of her.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's great.
It's gratifying.
Too. Just makes you feel great.
It does. It does.
So when you left high school, you went to Benedictine.
I did.
Was there any other school was on your mind? Mizzou or?
I have 2 of my older siblings also went to Benedictine. My brother played football there, which was our introduction to the college. So I threatened my parents that I was going to go someplace else, but I ended up there. It was a great fit for me. I met my husband there.
Yes.
I still have some of my dearest friends that I met there. And again, the community there is so strong. I think that's been a common thread for me from Jefferson City to Benedictine to Kansas City. People who really look out for you, care about you, celebrate when you do good things and feel ownership when you do good things in the best possible way.
Yeah, and you talk about the community there. Stephen Minnis has just been. He's an unbelievable person.
He is.
President of the university there at Benedictine. And if anyone doesn't know about Benedictine, take a drive to Atchison sometime, take a look. If you're the kids looking for a place that has 35,000 people on campus and
Right.
just great education. And talk about diversity. Kids are there from all over the world.
That's right.
Which, is hard to picture sometimes. Well, how'd they find? Well, it's what they do at
Yeah.
Benedictine. And then your husband, Kevin, he's from Dodge City.
Yep.
So the two you're up there, and you were there for business. You're in business, right?
Yep.
Kevin was too.
Kevin was business. I was actually journalism and English.
Oh my
yes,
gosh,
yes.
how about that?
I started out. I was going to be a reporter. That was my.
Man, did you luck out the other way?
I took a right turn and started out in PR and advertising instead.
Well, which is just a totally great offshoot from it
Yeah,
as well. Yeah. So that worked. And you came back to Kansas City. When did you and Kevin get married?
We got married in 19. So this is
How soon after school?
94. So I graduated in 88. Kevin
Oh,
is-
okay.
Kevin's 89, but I'm just going to say he's only 2 months younger than I am. Not
Oh,
a
okay.
year. He likes to tease me about that.
Does he? Yeah.
But we got married in 94, the month after the World Cup. So
You were too busy
I was
before that. I'm sorry.
And our oldest daughter got married last June, just before I took this role. So
Yeah.
there's a common thread there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you two met there, and he was from Dodge City. I'm sure you visited.
Yes.
Dodge City, right?
Yes, yes.
And as they say, depends on which way the wind's blowing.
That's right.
But the smell is the smell of money.
Same kind of thing though, right? The community there, like he still has some. We just actually went to a wedding of one of his high school friends' son. So just really great people, and I think he would say a great place to grow up.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have two wonderful daughters. One's more wonderful than the other. I'm sorry. Okay, your oldest is Claire.
Yep.
She works in sports. In fact, this weekend we're talking about right now, your college football playoffs. She works at the University of Notre Dame.
She does.
Which is incredible for her. That was her alma mater as well.
Yep.
I guess she couldn't get in Villanova like Libby did, but we'll talk about that in a second. But she just has to be on cloud nine.
She is having a great time. I mean, talk about a dream job for her. She's the director of football communications, so they're having quite a season. And I think, that she saw my career and understood. She, like me, I think really values the power that sport has to bring people together and the community. I think both Villanova and Notre Dame have such strong communities. Both of our girls had tremendous experiences. They're both great schools. But that's her place. So happy for her.
Yeah, so she decided, was there any other place for her at that point?
For college or for work?
No, when she was, I know they both went to Scion.
You'll love this.
Yeah.
So she also visited Villanova, loved it, loved Benedictine. And really, it came down to Benedictine and Notre Dame. And we told her to go visit both places without us.
Yeah,
and
good
to
idea.
really experience it as she would independently. And I think our challenge to both girls was figure out where you're going to grow the most spiritually, academically, socially, and that is where you need to be, where you're going to grow. Don't go comfortable. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Go
challenge
where,
yourself.
Yeah. Go where they're going to stretch you.
And they'll challenge you.
Absolutely. Both places.
Okay. So Claire eliminates Villanova. So is that why Libby went?
They are very different. It's so funny. Claire is more like I am from a career standpoint. Libby is more like I am from a personality standpoint. Libby's an engineer.
Yes.
I don't have any of those skills, but she is. She's an extrovert, and she loved this big city energy. Even though Villanova's suburban, you can hop on a train and get into the
Transportation.
city. Yep. She just, that is her place, and she loved it. And she came back to Kansas City, which was a pleasant surprise for us.
Which is incredible. Yeah. And she works for J.E. Dunn.
She does.
She's a mechanical engineer.
Yep.
That's another thing I did not study at Villanova while I was there, thank goodness. I can't add 2 and 2, so yeah.
That engineering school is impressive.
Yeah.
It is. We're thrilled with the education she got. And she loves J.E. Dunn. What a good culture. And
great family-run
oh my gosh.
company. It's just perfect.
Extraordinary. She's having a great time. And she's embracing all that's amazing about Kansas City. She's living in the city. She's involved with the American Royal. I keep trying to convince her to come to the house for dinner, and she's got too much going on, which is a good sign.
Yeah, that is. And you lived in downtown when you first got out of school, didn't you?
I did.
It was before, I think you said it was before living in downtown was cool.
Yes. There was not a lot to do downtown.
No grocery store.
No grocery store. We had I don't remember if it was a CVS or a Walgreens, but that was it. you get a bag of Cheetos if you needed groceries. But the Quaff was there, and the Peanut was there, and Quality Hill had just gone through a little bit of some renovation. What a fun time to live down there, and now to see the transformation that's taken place is extraordinary. I love it. I love being down there. I love the energy, love all of the young people living down there, and more mature people, more experienced people who are now relocating down there as well.
And Kevin, he works for is it
BOK Financial.
Yes,
Yep. He's the market CEO. Loves it. We've been really fortunate to both work with good people and great companies. So we're thrilled to be here.
Yeah, right. And you're here, and you basically, you worked for Sprint for a long period of time, and I'm sure there was some pull from people. Hey, Pam, you want to come to work for X, or do you want to come work for Y? And you have to go here, and you have to go there. Did it ever cross your mind? I know there was a little bump there to go, but you were in Des Moines, I think.
We were in Cedar Rapids.
I'm sorry, Cedar Rapids. You were up in Iowa, right?
Yep,
Exactly.
we were in Iowa
for
Kevin's career. Great people. Love the people in Iowa, but this is home. And I think, coming back here and feeling so settled here.
Yeah.
And I do think Kansas City represents the Midwest. I think people in Iowa, in Nebraska, feel like Kansas City is their city. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things that we convinced FIFA of, actually, was, look, our market is not just this metro area. Our market is 6 states.
With season ticket holders for the Chiefs live in Iowa and
absolutely.
all Arkansas, Oklahoma, all over the place.
And we use both Sporting and Chiefs fan data to show FIFA that
yes,
this is the sports town for these people, right? And so, we did live in Iowa, but I still felt pretty connected here. So, but I think.
Was there any other pool?
There were all sorts of opportunities for both me and Kevin, but I think the most important thing that we will do, we believe, is raise good humans and help each other get to heaven. Right, that's kind of our family goal, and to do it here, surrounded by people who can help us do that. I think that's what keeps us here. Yeah.
And you talk about your mentors. One, of course, being Cliff Iglig, and other people that you look up to. You admire, Peggy Dunn, of course.
Amazing.
Just a wonderful person.
Yeah.
Roshan Parrish, of course. You've worked with both. And your mentor is Cliff Iglig, who's been on the podcast, and we're going to get Roshan on, and the Dunn family.
Yeah.
So that's all part of it. That's all part of what this area is. It would be remiss if we didn't talk about those people.
100%. I think about Cliff, and back to the relationship basis of this place and the generosity beyond their own personal, whatever is in it for them, right? But just understanding that they have so much to offer. And when I started in this role, I did not have a lot of experience with Cliff, and sat down with him. And one of the things he said to me right off the bat was, you can't do this. And I'm like, what? Oh, no, do you not have confidence? He said, no, you can't do it alone. Like, this is about a team of teams. Yeah. And he's been so helpful in charting that path and sharing his own experience, whether that's through Cerner and how they did things.
Yeah, the picnic table.
Right,
right.
and he's one of the examples he's used with me is the Y2K preparation, and how big that was, and how you really need to rely on people and trust them to do what they say they're going to do. And then, instead of a top-down organization, you think about it as a circle, and everybody's part of the circle. And as long as everybody does their part, we're going to get it all done. Yeah. So I'm really grateful to Cliff for his support and championing of the cause overall, but also his personal support.
He's so down to earth.
It's amazing.
He's just like man on the street.
Yeah, I think this World Cup really will be his legacy to Kansas City, and I think he's
and he won't take any credit.
Nope.
Zero.
Nope.
And you and your husband, of course, your whole family, you're very involved in charities, Catholic charities, Snowball. Of course, Sarah and I have been there many times.
Yes.
Ascension Parish, Ronald McDonald House, Union Station, American Royal, Scion, Benedictine. You guys are really, really involved. And I think that's part of Kansas City, too. It's not just living here and being here, it's giving back.
100%. And it comes from a place of gratitude. Because I think if you're grateful for the opportunity you have, then you understand that there's a responsibility that comes with that to create opportunity for other people. and we all have different talents and skills. Nobody wants me singing at Snowball. But Sarah, great. I'm grateful that she does that, right, and does it so beautifully. And I think if we can, if everybody just gives a little, and that's, I mean, that is. I'll use Snowball as an example. People asked when we were presidents of Snowball, how did you do it? We didn't do it. I mean, there is a cast of thousands.
Yeah.
And it is people, individual people making calls and making asks and being willing to do that. It's not the organization asking, right? It's all of us doing a little bit.
Yeah. So there's just something about Kansas City.
That is, absolutely.
Hey, I know you are so busy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
spending
I
some
love the
time.
conversation.
It's been great. Been a lot of fun. Now get back to work.
I will.
Okay.
I'm back
All
on
right?
it. Yeah.
We're ready to go. Okay.
Awesome. Thank
That's
you.
it. Another reason why there's just something about Kansas City.
There's Just Something About Kansas City is a registered 501c3 nonprofit organization with the mission of documenting the stories that have built our city to inspire and educate generations to come. Our work is made possible by the generous support of local partners such as the Cockrell Family Foundation, the Bergman family, and the Sherman Family Foundation. For more information about how you can help us share these stories, visit our website at somethingaboutKC.org. Thank you.